Oh, I've just found your...
Recording started, ladies.
Grand.
So, question one, you're on a starboard tack, close hauled, at night in open water. The ship has remained on a steady bearing on your port bow and is now a mile away. Apparently unaware of your position. What, if anything, are you going to do? Any idea, ladies?
Turn to starboard, because even though we're theoretically the stand-on vessel, it looks like the other person hasn't seen us. So we need to take avoiding action and steer clear.
Exactly, Anna. So, and why do we turn to starboard?
Because it's the protocol, and it saves, yeah, if we all follow the same rules, we won't collide with each other. In case he turns to starboard suddenly as well, in case he suddenly sees us and then takes avoiding action as well.
Yeah, so we turn to starboard. If we turn to starboard, if he suddenly sees us and he turns to starboard, it's all well and good. If we're turned to port, you can see that we then collide there. So avoid, if you're a stand-on vessel, if you're a power-driven vessel, you must avoid turning to port. If you're a sailing vessel, you can turn to port, but you should avoid it. Happy?
Yes,
Yeah.
except if you're a sailing yacht and the vessel that you're trying to avoid is a tanker steaming along at great speed, when you turn to starboard, you're going to be right in his way. So do you just do a circle until he's gone past? Circle to starboard?
I think that's the diagram which is misleading there. So if you think about a sailing yacht turning, it's turning circles almost zero, isn't it? So yeah, it would be it would be turning in its current position. If you were under his bows, you'd have crossed ahead of him, and it would be, the issue would be over and done with, wouldn't it? If you were sitting under his bow, so if the situation was, here's the tanker and you're here, turning to starboard would cause a problem because you'd be under his bow still, wouldn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
But if you're over here and you turn to starboard, you're effectively going to be coming down here, aren't you? And you do have to worry about his aspect, but in this case, we're tacking, so we're making a 90-degree alteration of course. That would be big enough to create a change in aspect if he's bearing down on you. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Cool. Question two. The wind has back to the south and freshened, and high cloud is causing a halo around the sun. What weather feature is approaching? Possibly.
Front.
Front. Any particular kind of front?
Cold front.
No, other type.
No.
So
okay, must be a warm front then.
It's a warm front. I'm going to see if I can move you guys out of the way. Yeah, so high cirrus, you see high cirrus ahead of a warm front, and you get the wind backing well ahead of a warm front. So what we're talking about here is we're in this part of the frontal system here. So the wind had been more southeasterly, and it's now becoming becoming southerly, and we're seeing the wind, the high cloud well ahead of the front. High cloud can indicate the onset of a warm front, and that's what a sun halo looks like. Yeah. Mm-hmm. If we're in the warm section and the cold front was approaching, we wouldn't see much evidence of that feature's approach because we have low cloud, which masks any high cirrus ahead of a cold front. Does that make sense?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
We're sailing eastwards in an estuary at night. Ahead is a light with the following characteristics. Very quick. What kind of light is it, first of all?
A northerly cardinal.
A north cardinal, yeah. And so what are we going to do?
You are going to turn to port.
Yeah, and you can see why here, can't you? So the cardinals mark the danger. A north cardinal will be to the north of the danger. So if you've got a north cardinal directly on your bow, you're heading east, away from the danger, you'll be turning to port. So leaving it on your starboard side. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. a bit of revision on the Mayday procedure. Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. This is Yacht Alpha, Yacht Alpha, Yacht Alpha. Call sign Mike Yankee Foxtrot Tango 7. MMSI numbers 232003266. What are the next 3 words of the distress message?
My position is.
No, Mayday, Mayday, Mayday again.
Mayday, Mayday, Mayday again. So what we've had is the or Mayday Yacht Alpha. So the first part of the message is the Mayday call, and what you're effect, the way I like to think about this is you're shouting, "Help me! Help me! Help me! It's Mike. I'm stuck. I'm here. I'm here. I'm here." Okay, and then the next part of the message. So once you've said everything 3 times and tied that in with your MMSI number and your call sign, then you go into the message, which is, "This is what my problem is. This is how I'd like you to help me. This is exactly where I am." Why do you need to add your call sign and your MMSI number to the distress call?
Because that can tie you into AIS for the Coast Guard. Yeah,
so hopefully you'd have pressed your DSC button, which would tally with the MMSI number, and you might have a yacht with a common name. So there might be more than one yacht with the same name. But no yachts have the same call sign. So the call sign is a unique identifier. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It always surprises me, though, that you go into so much detail. If you're in a dire situation, why not just get the Mayday out there? This is my position. This is my problem, and then start with the boat. The boat ID and the MMSI number.
I entirely agree with you. So this is the correct procedure. I think on a short-handed yacht, that the procedure is, by the time you're in a situation where you're calling a Mayday, it can be a little bit long-winded. I don't know if you've ever heard a Mayday or a pan being called in the Solent. It can take a long time to pass all the information to the Coast Guard. So what I normally tell my crew is that actually all I want them to do is to press the DSC button in the event of this and pass me up the handheld radio. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to clarify to the Coast Guard that it's me. I am in this position. It's a deliberate DSC call, and I'm getting on with whatever I'm doing. And I'm possibly not going to follow the full procedure. I just want to get that essence of the information out, and I can pass the rest of the detail later. If it's a pan, then I've probably got all the time in the world, and I can concentrate on sending my message a little bit more correctly and clearly. Makes sense?
Yeah.
You're approaching a port in fog. You hear a bell ringing rapidly for 5 seconds, followed by 4 short blasts. What is it?
I think it's a pilot vessel in the process of piloting, perhaps a motorboat.
A pilot vessel on duty, which we know because it's got 4 short blasts. And what do we think the bell ringing, rapidly ringing bell for 5 seconds would be?
A big ship?
No.
A motorboat?
No, it's a rapidly ringing bell for 5 seconds. It's a vessel at anchor less than 50 meters in length.
Okay.
So it's a pilot vessel on duty at anchor. Why do pilot vessels have their own sound signals?
Well, because there are going to be 2 boats in proximity to each other.
Possibly, but actually, a pilot vessel normally delivers a pilot to a ship. So don't get confused with the pilot vessels you see in and around Southampton. The only boat when you're approaching a strange port that you want to be on a steady bearing or you want to find and get close to, because he's the guy who's going to help you into the port, which is why pilot vessels have their own unique light. And
sorry, Mike, the sound vanished for me a bit there. Would you mind just repeating that explanation?
Yeah, sure. So pilot vessels are unique in that when you're approaching an unusual port or a new port, that you want to get a pilot, and the pilot vessel normally would deliver a pilot on board who then drives the boat if you're a big ship. Therefore, you want to distinguish a pilot vessel from other traffic because it's the only one that you want to come and close you, or you want to find so you can get close enough to do a boat transfer. Does that make sense?
Mm.
Yeah, so in this case, this pilot ship is perhaps engaged with delivering stuff to the anchored boat?
No, he's on duty and at anchor. I've never seen a pilot vessel at anchor and on duty and in fog. So
I've never seen one at anchor. They're normally en route somewhere or en route back.
No, they tend to loiter. I think. Yeah, I agree. I think pilot vessels tend to be quite seaworthy and hang around at the pilot station rather than anchor. But who knows why? What they were thinking of when they devised this particular rule?
So it's the 5 seconds bell that indicates it's at anchor.
Yes.
So the pilot vessel is both on duty and at anchor at the same time?
Yes. So if he was off duty, he wouldn't be able to sound his foreshore blast. It'd just be a vessel with pilot written on the side, but he wouldn't be conducting pilotage, would he? Does that make sense?
Mm.
Same as you can get an ambulance, but it doesn't always have its horns on.
Mm.
I get it, ish. Happy?
Yep.
At the entrance to the marina, the entrance to a marina opens at half tide. Above it is a power cable with a charted height of 10 metres. For safety, you need 4 metres clearance between the cable and the mast. Your mast height from the waterline is 9 metres. Mean high water springs is 8 metres, and mean low water springs is 1 metre. Can you get out? Now, what do we normally refer clearance heights to in the UK now?
Oh, you're talking about air draft, or?
Yeah, no. So if the height of the bridge or the height of cables, what datum would they normally be referred to?
Yeah, can't remember.
LAT, so lowest.
Yeah.
Highest astronomical tide, HAT.
Mm.
In other parts of the world and in the UK, up until about 10 years ago, it was always referred to mean high water springs. So we're going to imagine this is in France, where they still refer to it to mean high water springs. So above mean high water springs, the cable is 9 metres high. So I've drawn this, 10 metres above mean high water springs, this is the clearance above mean high water springs here, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Just going to get my pointer. So this is the clearance here. This is my mast, and this is the safety. And then we know we're at half tide. So half tide will be halfway between mean low water springs and mean high water springs, roughly. So from that, we can deduce that 10 plus 3.5 is 13.5, and we've got 13 metres with our safety, which means we'd have half a metre clearance going out at half tide. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
So we'd have 4 metres safety and a further half a metre clearance. Does that make you happy with that?
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting that you add a 4 metre safety human error thing.
I think that's quite a lot of safety for a 9 metre mast, to be honest. That's a 50% error, isn't it?
Mm.
But it's the question. So I got these questions from somewhere else. So they're quite good questions. The point is made. Happy?
Yes. Thought-provoking.
What is the meaning of the following symbols on an Admiralty chart?
What is what, sorry?
What is the meaning of the following symbols on an Admiralty chart? So we've got little c, capital S, dot BK, capital SH, G dot P dot. What do we think, what do we think they're referring to?
Is this the what do they call it? The seabed.
Yeah, it's the seabed type.
So SH is shingle, I think.
I think it's shell.
Shell, okay.
Yeah, so we've got
coarse sand.
Coarse sand. Right. So biggish lumps of sand, wouldn't be particularly comfortable to walk on the beach. Broken shells, gravel, and pebbles.
Crikey, it's got quite a lot on that area.
Yeah. So you know how they get these, don't you? What they used to do is when they used to lead line, and they still use a lead line. Well, no, grab now. They get you have mechanical grab, which is on a bit of rope, and it's got an armature. When it hits the bottom, the grab closes, and then you put it up, and hopefully it doesn't wash too much of the rubbish out. If you've got really fine mud or something, by the time you pull it about 10 litres of water, the mud's washed out of the grab. So, and then you look at the sample and you do a number of samples. And, that's what's recorded on a chart. But it used to be when you did your lead lining, you'd put a bit of tallow on the bottom of the lead, and you'd see what you picked up on the bottom, whether you picked up pebbles or seaweed or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And would this be a good anchorage or a bad anchorage? Because this is why we want to know what's on the seabed, isn't it? Mostly.
Yeah, okay, be good.
Yeah, it'd be okay, wouldn't it? Wouldn't be too bad. When crossing a traffic separation scheme, should your heading or ground track be at right angles to traffic flow? I expect both of you to get this right after Monday's session.
Heading. Oh, everything's gone quiet.
Give it a shot. So, you know this, don't you? It's the heading. So in tide, you'd be crossing at an angle, but pointing directly across the traffic separation scheme. Happy days?
And I did say that.
All right. My sound. What is the function of an HRU?
Wow. No idea.
Anna?
Anna, you're muted.
Right back to day skipper theory and competent crew, this is. So HRU is a hydrostatic release unit. So it's the unit which allows a life raft to float free when it gets immersed in water. It's normally initiated by pressure, so at about 1.5 meters or 2 meters of pressure. And it looks like that, so that you'd expect the pressure sensor, which is the HRU, and then there'd be a pelican hook and some shackles which secure the life raft in place. And you've also got the painter attached to the HRU, which is then attached to a strong point on the boat. So it's all one piece of equipment's doing all the jobs. So the boat goes down to a depth of to more than about 1.5 meters. The HRU releases, and you can see when the HRU releases, the pressure here is dropped off, and the whole armature is allowed to swing up, and the life raft can float free. This is the painter, and so the life raft floats free. It inflates, and then the painter's attached to this weak link, and as the pressure on the painter increases as the boat sinks beneath it, or if the boat sinks beneath it, this weak link will break, and the life raft can float free.
Thanks,
guys.
Yeah, you've gone quiet, Mike.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, yeah, I think it was me, actually. Sorry. All good.
All these things were brilliant about 2 weeks ago until everyone else started using them, and now they've got more and more not infected. The contention is higher and higher, isn't it? And finally, question 10, you're secured fore and aft to a pile mooring. There's a strong tide from stern to bow and a crosswind from the port quarter. How do you leave under sail? So that's the situation. We've got a tide running up behind the boat and a wind here, and we're tied to a pile fore and aft. What would be the problem if we try and get underway? So we could hoist a foresail quite easily, couldn't we? And we'd gain some speed quite quickly. But what would be the problem in doing that, Guy?
The stern clanking the forward pile.
Almost being driven straight down onto it because the tide's coming behind. We have no steerage weight at all, do we? Because we won't have steerage until the boat is going faster.
Yeah.
Because we need the boat to be going faster than the tide. Get a flow over the rudder, which would give us steerage weight. So we'd start going ahead quite quickly, but we wouldn't be able to steer away because there'd be no flow over the rudder. So we'd drive pretty much straight into that pile. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And we could ease this band here a little bit and try and get the stern out, but then we'd still be here and we'd still be in the same situation trying to get steerage across the pile. Does that make sense? So what they suggest they do is you warp the boat around so you're now facing into tide, and that would be quite an interesting manoeuvre in its own, particularly if the tide or the wind was strong. And now it's quite straightforward to leave.
That would be quite an ask to pull the boat round with a deep keel.
Well, with a deep keel, maybe.
Well, I don't mean a deep keel, just a normal keel with a fin keel. Blimey, hauling the boat round.
Fin keel would be okay as long as it wasn't too windy. So you need long ropes.
Long ropes, a lot of strength.
Yeah, well, you can use your winches to do it.
Yeah, I suppose.
I've walked, so it takes a bit of planning, but I've walked really big boats around in tight spaces to set up, but to measure out when the wind or the tide's been against me. And it might take 15, 20 minutes to do, and lots of fenders and but it is possible.
Yeah, I guess if you're really stuck, it's an option, isn't it? Yeah.
It's a much safer option than the previous option, to be honest, but it does take a bit of thinking about. So you need an extra line at the bow and an extra line at the stern because you don't want the boat to go out of control. And in this case, I'd probably let the stern come down on the wind and then start pulling the bow up. So I might have another line to here and then pull the bow up, grind the bow up. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then ease the stern down, and you'd have your line already here. And then once you get across the tide, then I think it would be quite straightforward. It'd be that getting the boat turning under control initially would be a difficult thing to set up. But once it started, I think you'd be fine. That makes sense?
Yeah.
And then, and now once you've done it, then it's easy. You can put your sails up and they can flutter into the wind. You have the tide over the rudder, so you have control straight away. You can back the foresail, which will push the bow across, and then sheet in on the main, and you're sailing.
That's a good idea to back the foresail. Yeah, as extra push.
Happy days, guys.
Yeah, very interesting. Thank you.
Well, I'm sorry it's just you, but
well, we're
Very
not.
exclusive company.
thank you very much. Have a great weekend. Enjoy Easter, and I'll see you on Tuesday, I guess.
Thank you very much,
You
Mike.
too.
These have been really
Yeah,
great.
thank you very
Cheers.
Catch you
Enjoy
later.
your Easter.
Thank you. Bye. Happy Easter.
Bye bye.